The resume that gets you hired at that higher level looks a little bit different than you think. So, if you're trying to move up the ladder, get promoted, or just get paid in 2026, the resume that gets you there is probably not the one that you're working with. If that sounds like you, I'm glad you're here. But before we get ahead of ourselves, hi there, my name is Kim. I am a big tech recruiter and career advancement expert. I help professionals like you land higher paying jobs without all the stress and confusion. As someone who is a recruiter by day and career advancement expert by night, I look at resumes pretty much all day, every day. And I can tell you that there is a distinct difference between candidates who make a lateral career move and candidates who make an upward career move. And that distinction is even more significant in 2026. So, today we are going to talk about the who, the what, and the where that you need to know in order to get paid in 2026. So, let's start off first with the who. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I need to get past the applicant tracking system. Oh, the recruiters are the gatekeepers and they are always ghosting me. And trust me, not everyone involved in the hiring process has the same level of skill or the same level of quality communication. That being said, when we look at the who of this process, you actually want to bring it back to the needs of the hiring manager. If you're not familiar, the hiring manager is the person who has the opening on their team and needs to fill that role. This is the person who's going to be the manager for this new open position. For large companies, that's fairly formal with lots of approvers. It includes finance and justification for having a role open. For a small business, the approval process could just literally be the owner saying, yeah, we need a person, and it's very informal. Regardless, there was an approval process because the manager identified a need on the team, a gap between what the team was working on and the goals that they need to achieve. And somewhere in the middle, they need to bring in somebody with the right skill set, expertise, education, drive, that person to come in and help fill that gap so that the team can meet their goal. That is consistent regardless of whether you are working for a company of two people or for the largest company in the world. That is the mentality that you, as a job seeker, need to tap into if you want to get paid more in 2026. The reality of the job market right now is that it is an employer's market. And as the pendulum swings from bear to bull and back and forth, hiring behavior also swings. So, in an employer's market, a market where there are more job seekers than jobs, employers tend to be a little bit more selective, partially because employers are also working to accomplish more with less headcount. You see, they only have the one position. And maybe on that team, the 8 people are now doing the work of 9 people after Susie left, right? Bringing on somebody onto a team where they may not know the work feels a little risky because they only have the one opening. They're already spread pretty thin in regards to, do I have time to train a person? Do I have time to let this lead take time away from these other tasks, responsibilities, activities that are really moving the needle to get us where we need to go? Can I justify pulling them back from those activities to onboard this person, train this new person, get this new person up to speed. Now, I get it. It takes everybody time to learn a new job. And it is the responsibility of the hiring manager to facilitate an environment where the new person is trained and gets up to speed. I am not saying that this is a perfect scenario, but it is the truth. And it's not just consistent in one industry or one employer. I saw this mentality when I worked in a company of 6 people all throughout my career with varying levels of company size and across many industries. It's the psychology of I have a finite amount of time. How do I best allocate it? So, if you're looking for a growth opportunity to get paid more money or to move up the ladder, you need to recognize that almost all managers are going to be looking at resumes through that lens that I've just described. Recent data has been shared in regards to the industries that are experiencing more growth right now, as opposed to those that are seeing attrition. Those that are experiencing growth are a more strategic area for you to focus if you are looking to get promoted. Q1 of 2026, the top two industries were healthcare and hospitality. Now, that will change as the market changes. So, I don't want you to think now I need to pivot to healthcare, even though I did used to work in healthcare. And side note, it's probably one of the most fulfilling industries to work in. So, shout out to everyone who works in healthcare. That being said, that will change as the market changes. So, as a savvy job seeker, it's important to pay attention to that. If you're looking for a promotion, managers in those areas are going to be more likely to have a little bit more bandwidth, more of a laxed mentality because they are experiencing growth in comparison to the other industries who are doing more with less. Next, let's talk about the what. What are you going to say? What do you say in order to communicate that you are the one that's worthy of the promotion and getting paid? If you have seen any of my previous content, you know that the person who gets the job is not the most qualified person. The person who gets the job is the person who is best able to communicate the return on investment of hiring that person in relation to the problems that company or that team is trying to solve. They are able to articulate that they have previous successes solving similar problems. And those who get paid the most are the ones who are able to communicate the greatest return on investment of those wins. And that is what you will need to communicate to get paid more in 2026. So, how do we do that? Communicating your value or the return on investment of hiring you within a lateral move means you need to communicate your wins and successes within the scope of work that is comparable to the level that you would be transferring into. So let's say that you are applying to be a recruitment coordinator and you were a recruitment coordinator at this company and you are looking to make a lateral move to this new company. Similar scope of work. The only difference is the name of the employer. In that resume, you communicate your successes within the scope of that work. But if you were a recruitment coordinator and now you are applying to be the scheduling lead or the recruitment coordinator manager, the wins and successes from your time as the recruitment coordinator are not going to articulate the return on investment of hiring someone at that next level because the person who gets the job is the person who's best able to communicate their return on investment of hiring that person. If your experiences show solid wins at the lateral move, but you're not able to communicate solid wins at the next level of work, hiring managers get a little bit nervous. How much training will this person take? Do they even meet the basic qualifications for the higher level job? That's where things get tricky. So for you, as you are working to move further up the corporate ladder or just to get paid more, look at what the job descriptions, the duties, the responsibilities, and the problems that the next level up are consistently solving. And then look at your own work. Which of those are a match? Which of the consistent items in the job descriptions am I seeing? Oh, I have wins or experiences that showcase that. Great. Check that off the list. Next, you want to evaluate the gaps. Oh man, most of those manager roles say that I need 3 years of leadership experience. I only have 2. What do I need to lean into more at my current employer in order to say, all right, I've got those wins? Both of those things can happen at the same time. And then for the where, that's twofold. The first thing you need to do is build out your own professional branding materials. Update your resume and LinkedIn to communicate that you are functioning already at this higher level. Take your homework from reviewing those job descriptions and already start promoting that you are functioning at that higher level. My favorite part of the resume is the relevant accomplishment section. So replace the relevant accomplishments listed that are in alignment with a lateral move with accomplishments that are now in alignment with the next step move. Once you've identified those gaps, you are now going to fill those gaps. You are going to invest a little bit of time and energy into either doing that work with your current employer to upskill yourself, but also, and this is the hack, folks, if you are looking to really stand out in 2026 and beyond, you are now going to start positioning yourself as a thought leader. And I hate those types of terms. Sometimes it gets a little cringy. I'm sorry if that gave you the ick, but hear me out. The truth is, most of us live online. If you want to be seen as a leader, start leading. You're already going to be doing some of that in your current role, but also you need to do that in communities that are not within your employment group. Start posting on LinkedIn. Start providing value and content, things that align with the messaging that says, hey, guess what? I'm a leader in this space. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to provide value here. I know that sounds like a bit of the long game, and it kind of is. Not kind of. It is. It is the long game. But the longer game is not doing it at all. This is a competitive job market right now. And those who rise to the top are the ones who are not afraid to share their thoughts. Those who are not afraid to speak out. Sometimes you need to go to a new employer as the higher level person and establish yourself at that level from the beginning. The truth of the matter is, if you want to get promoted or get paid more, it would be wonderful if that happened at your current employer, and it often does, but it doesn't for everybody. I remember when I was working at a certain employer, and I started out as a recruitment coordinator, and I was very graciously promoted into another job. And then the following year, I was promoted once again into another job. By the time I left that company 4 years later, which would have been the third position I had, I was still being asked to do work from when I was a coordinator, the first job that I had. Side note, that was a lesson in boundaries for Kim. The version that you are seeing on this screen today probably wouldn't have allowed that to happen. But that being said, when people see you in a certain way, it can be difficult for them to see you in a different way. How many times have you gone to a family reunion or a family function where people haven't seen you in 5 or 10 years? No, that's not little Kimberly. You're still 10 years old. That's not a unique experience to me because people remember you typically how they've met you. I recently went to a family gathering and I saw someone and I remarked to my mother, Mom, it feels like just not that long ago that we all went to Disneyland together. And now she's a freshman in college. She still, in my mind, was wearing her princess clothes. Folks, it's a natural psychological trait. We can't fight it. So let's work with it. And to get paid more in 2026, it is a psychological game, not in an icky way, but in a I know what your need is. Here we are. I can provide a solution, a working solution, a valuable solution to your need. And as a result of that, you're going to get paid. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give my channel a follow. I post about resumes, interview advice, everything job search, and I would love to see you here again. Happy job hunting. Bye-bye.